is Bitcoin is immune from attack.
Welcome to the Crypto Show's Digital Cash Evolution. This is a kind of a special edition. We're going to touch on some issues with safety and such for Anarchapulco. There's been a lot in the news lately, basically all over the world, and some of it's right, some of it's wrong. Let's just kind of get into that. Jeff, as far as Anarchapulco goes, are there any special measures for safety, or is there even any need for that, or what do you think?
Hey, Danny, good to talk to you. Yeah, it's been a tough week in Acapulco. As a lot of people know, someone in our community, you could say, an anarchist, was murdered. It was actually, as you pointed out, there's a lot of wrong reporting about it. But of course, any murder of any foreigner in Acapulco always gets international press. And this one did as well. And they actually reported he was involved. He was the founder of Anarchapulco, or at least involved with Anarchapulco, which isn't true, as you know. He was running a different conference called Anarchapulco, just so people know. And as you know, he was murdered. He actually was living in quite a dangerous area. Whether he realized it or not, I'm not sure he fully realized it. But that area he was living in, I know, as someone who's lived in Acapulco, is one of the most dangerous areas to live in. What they were doing, that's up for speculation. But the press reported they had a drug lab. But it does appear that they were doing something related to drugs. And what we do know about the cartel in Mexico is there's really only one thing you can do that gets you in major problems in Mexico, and that's competing in the drug market with the cartels. And if that was the case, then it's that is fairly standard things that happen when you do compete with the cartel in Mexico. So very unfortunate. But you ask about if we increase security or anything like that, it's really truly not necessary because, as I pointed out, unless you're in a bad part of Acapulco in the drug trade, dealing with cartel people, there really is no problems. Where, of course, as you know, Danny, we're quite a ways away. We're near the airport in sort of the rich area where all the billionaires live, in a place called Diamante. Very secure, very safe, 5-star hotel. We always do have security. I don't know if you know that, Danny. I don't know if you ever see it. We actually have quite a bit of security there every year, just in case. There's really not too much reason to do it, but when you have some cryptocurrency people around, you want to be careful. And we do have always some, security there. There's really no.
I noticed like last year they were at certain times they were actually keeping people from going on the beach because there were concerns that they'd heard a rumor about something might happen, so they kept people off the beach at night on certain days. They do have a kind of a guard tower out front, or a guard gate, I guess you would say, before you can even enter the hotel. So there's never really any concern about that. Let me play a clip real quick. So we may have actually the most recent audio of John Galton, who was shot, and this is what he had to say about Acapulco and its safety.
Experience Acapulco.
Yeah, it's right there.
So for the Acapulco experience, you guys have been in Acapulco for what, 4 years now?
Or 3 years almost.
3 years. So 3 years you guys have been living right there in the center of Acapulco. What can people expect? Safety, because that's the main thing everybody's worried about. Acapulco's the most dangerous city on the planet. Although I guess I've been to Chicago.
There is like one neighborhood that I can say of that I would like warn people, I guess, to avoid staying in, and that's just if you're not on your toes, it could be bad because it's technically the hood, but there's lots of like mansions over there for rent for like nothing, so it's appealing to both the cartels and the gringos. But yeah, like avoid Coletta, but other than that, like I've walked the city from end to end by myself and never really had fear for my safety. I keep my wits about me, I don't go dressed, scandalously all by myself and do sketchy things, but it's pretty damn safe here, surprisingly.
Yeah, for us at least, it's been the safest city of the size either of us has ever lived in. We really enjoy it and don't have negative things to say about it in that regard.
Yeah, that's a big part of why we forked, was just because the city itself is so amazing. It has so much to offer, and Diamante has a lot to offer too. It's different, and people come expecting Acapulco and they see that and they're just like, well, this isn't what I expected.
And
Diamante is whether
the danger that does occur there is pretty much if you're doing business with the cartel.
Yeah, you've got to be, either just going out late at night and being stupid, or doing business with the cartel, or not paying attention and getting in with a sketchy taxi driver, which you can kind of tell that, if somebody's trying to take advantage of you, if you're paying attention, you can tell. But it's not any worse than any other city, and I think I had more people try to take advantage of me in just about every U.S. city that I've been in than I have here, so.
So, ironically, 2 days before this had happened, that was their feelings about the safety of Acapulco. So.
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of what she said. And actually, I've talked to Lily since this. I've talked to her quite a bit, actually. And she's doing okay. She's safe. And, she's obviously, it's been a terrible few days, but she's doing okay. And she actually said she has no intention to leave Acapulco. She still loves Acapulco. And what she said about being able to walk pretty much anywhere at almost any time and not really have too many problems, that's fairly true for foreigners in general. Really, all this comes down to is if you're involved in the drug trade in Mexico, you can have major problems. And that looks like what happened. Now, if they were involved, how much they were involved, that's up for question. But from what I'm hearing from even some cartel people, that they were suspected of being involved in the drug trade. And when you're suspected of being involved in any way and you're not dealing with them, you don't have their permission to deal in that area or anything like that, that's generally the response.
Just another form of government. So they escaped one government to fear another, I guess. That's kind of what they were dealing with in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, they were going to be kidnapped and put into a cage for 25 years for a very similar sort of thing in the U.S., cannabis-related sort of a thing. All of this was caused by the war on drugs, of course. All the government prohibition causes all of this violence. That's what really makes us all so sad. And the fact that they are anarchists and like us and in Acapulco, and that they ended up having problems because of the violence caused by the war on drugs, caused by the prohibition of government, is truly sad. But the safety in Acapulco, I still live in Acapulco. I've been there for 10 years. You've been there. Nothing's really changed. It's just don't get involved.
I'll be heading down
there
on the 9th, driving a big, huge Target. And but I'm not really worried about that. Also, we were pointing out that Anarchapulco has basically become a festival. And so like South by Southwest is this huge festival, and all kinds of other things will pop up out of that. And this is what you're having now is with Anarchapulco. You have Anarchaforco, Anarch Awakening, and Anarcha, just about anything you can think of, because it's become so successful. And even with what was thought to be the death of Anarchaforco because of this incident, it looks like the community has stepped up and they want to actually hold it in their honor. Are you guys going to have anything kind of like at Anarchapulco to give a nod towards them, or?
Definitely, I probably will be mentioning it in my opening speech. It's very sort of important to the community event that has occurred. I do know a lot of people that are talking about carrying on in Anarchaforco, even if Lily isn't able or willing to do it this year. I've seen so many people volunteering to do it. So, yeah, really, this entire sort of thing is just people getting together and celebrating freedom and talking about how we can have a freer world and get rid of a lot of this government violence causing things like the war on drugs, causing all these deaths, all the wars, all the bombs, trying to stop it all and trying to make new systems to make the government systems obsolete. So we're not stopping that. This does not change anything. In fact, in some ways, it sort of emboldens us to continue on, because we're having friends dying because of the war on drugs now. And we've had that before. In fact, as you know, Danny, so many of our speakers have been either caged, killed, well, not killed, but try to be killed. John McAfee's currently on the run.
Well, he may be dead. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
he may have died years ago. He may have died years ago. We don't know.
Yeah, then there's Cody Wilson, who you know well. He was framed there in the U.S., and they come after us in so many different ways. And one of the sad things out there, Danny, that I've noticed is some anarchists are actually like laughing at us, like, "Oh, you guys should have known better" or something. It's like, what? We're out here living the true. We're not just talking about anarchy; we're actually living it. And any little anarchist sitting there on his laptop in the U.S. paying his taxes and bowing down to the police and stopping and showing them his license every time they stop them, they can just shut up, basically. They're not living anarchy. We're out there actually living it. And then, of course, there's a ton of statists all saying, "Oh, this was all, that's what do you expect? That was anarchy, what happened?" Of course it's not. So we're under attack by virtually everybody, but we're not stopping. We're going to carry on. And I've heard very few people say that they're not coming because of this. There's going to be over 2,000 people at Anarchapulco, and we're going to do what we do every year, which is have a lot of fun and try to change the world.
Awesome. Well, I guess we can go ahead and cut this short. I just kind of wanted to address what, safety in Acapulco, and if anybody had any concerns about that we would address that, and just kind of talk about what this was. Is there anything special that people should look forward to Acapulco that hasn't been announced yet, or?
Well, we just announced Mortal Technique is going to be our lead musical act. So we're going to have our music night on February 14th, a concert with Immortal Technique, and he'll be the people before him will be Backwards, who rocked it last year, and Elias Clay. She's a great rapper. Things like that. As far as safety, just to reiterate, you come into Acapulco, it's as safe as can be at the airport. There's a ton of military guys there if you think that gives you safety, but you have that kind of thing. And we're about 10 minutes from the airport in the nicest part of Acapulco. It's really literally where all the billionaires live. Nothing really ever happens in that area. And, listening to that talk with Lily and John talking about that they wanted to keep Anarchapulco in the Bay Area of Acapulco, part of the reason, as a little part, but the main reason was that there's no hotels that could hold Anarchapulco anymore in the Bay. But there was a part of me who kind of wanted to move it to Diamante just to make sure, because we didn't want anything like this to happen. And, that part of Acapulco, there is sometimes some shootings and things like that. It's sort of like Chicago in that sense. And that's part of the reason I'm quite happy to have the event in Diamante, because it's about as safe as it gets. Even the president of Mexico goes to Diamante. Right after us is the Mexican tennis, which is got all the top tennis players in the world all there. Like, this is about as safe of an area as you can get. So anyone out there who's worried about safety, there's literally nothing to worry about.
I'm not worried. And as I was about to mention in that recording, I've been to Acapulco multiple times. I've been to Chicago once. I ventured into Chicago on the south side. I got lost and ended up at a stoplight, and the light turned green. I was still looking at my map, and someone pulled up beside me and pointed a gun at me and told me to get my white ass out of that neighborhood. So I haven't been back to Chicago since. Not sure why.
I had a similar thing happen in Tampa myself, and very similar. I got a little lost, got a few blocks off the main track, and very similar sort of a thing happened to me. And that has never happened to me in Acapulco. It's really not like that. People have all these ideas of what Mexico and Acapulco are like, and there's cartels and there's gangsters with guns everywhere. It's really not like that. But if you're involved in the drug business in Mexico, you can definitely have some major problems.
Yeah. I mean, I guess people can band together and just be a little bit more vigilant. And if you're scared of certain things, I guess just stay away from that. No, just...
Yeah, there's nothing to worry about. As I said, we're all in the Diamante area, and it's about as secure. Really, it's about as secure of an area as anywhere in the world that I've ever been. Really, nothing happens out there. It's the government, the cartels, everyone sort of understand. You don't go in that area. That's for tourists. That's for like rich people. You don't mess with that area, and really, you don't.
Awesome. Well, everybody check out Anarchapulco at anarchapulco.com and check out some of the pages that are Anarchapulco's Facebook page, and then there's another page called 365, I think, with the same name, and they're talking about what they're going to do with Anarchapulco. If you want to go and pay tribute there, check that out as well. Thanks, Jeff, and I guess we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you, Danny.
All right, man.